I'm Jim Collison, and live from the Gallup campus here in Omaha, Nebraska. This is Gallup's Theme Thursday, recorded on July 24th, 2014. Theme Thursday is a Gallup webcast series that dives deep into the CliftonStrengths Finder themes, one theme at a time, and today's theme is harmony. If you have any questions, comments, or contributions during the webcast, we do have a live chat room that's available for you. It's right below the main video window. We just ask you to log in. You can either create an account or just log in as a guest, and that's the best way to get questions into the show. If you're listening to the recorded version or you need some custom strengths coaching solutions for your small, medium, or large organizations, you can contact us. The best way to do that is just through email, coaching@gallup.com. And don't forget to visit the Gallup Strength Center. That's just gallupstrengthcenter.com for all your coaching resources and training. You can also catch the video and both streaming or downloadable audio for offline listening to past shows. Many people ask me that question as well. Jim, how do I listen in on offline mode? We have that available through Spreaker, but the links for those are on our coach's blog, coaching.gallup.com. If you'd also like to live tweet with us during the webcast or for any strengths discussions going on Twitter, we have created a special hashtag, just hashtag CSF for Clifton Strengths Finder, CSF chat, and make sure you follow @StrengthsFinder on Twitter. All right, Kurt Liesfeld is our host today. Kurt works as an advanced learning and development consultant here at Gallup. Kurt, it has been a month or so since we've done a Theme Thursday. It's great to be back with you, and welcome back to Theme Thursday.
Thank you, Jim. It's great to be back here. I missed these conversations and the opportunity to learn and think about these themes. It's good to have you back. I know you've been on some vacation. I want to make just a quick a thank you to Mr. Jim Collison here. You see him on the air as this kind of very professional, technical personality on this webcast. He also is a great human being. You might have heard via Facebook that I thought I had lost all of my photographs, and if you know me, who I am, photographs are important to me. Jim helped me to retrieve them from my hard drive. So, Jim, I am indebted to you. A portion of my life was almost lost, and you saved it. So I just want to thank you for taking your personal time to help me.
You bet.
Okay.
You're very welcome.
So there should be a round of applause around the webcast world here for Jim. Harmony is a theme that we're going to talk about today, and we've got Shari, who is the Global Learning and Development Manager here at Gallup. She's been here for 23 years, and I think she's going to give another, I call them a theme poster child for harmony. She's a great leader, a great person, person to work with. Shari, it's great to have you on the call.
Great, thanks. I'm excited to be here with everybody today.
And we'll get to her a little bit later. I'm going to just talk us through harmony a little bit here for about the next 7 or 8 minutes. If I had to kind of shrink the definition of harmony, and sometimes I think that's a valuable thing to do, is to kind of boil it down. Here's how I describe it. Harmony is a person who has harmony promotes collaboration by managing conflict and maintaining practicality. And if I would boil it down even further, I would say it's this. It's getting along with people so we can get stuff done. I am convinced that a lot of people with harmony, even though we call this a relationship theme, it many times has a strong performance orientation. And it's really kind of this tension that people with harmony, I think, live with. I want to get along with people, but I also want to get things done. So in order for that to happen, we're going to work together. I think sometimes people think that this is kind of a rare theme. It's actually it's 7th most frequent in top 5 in our database of over 10 million people. 19% of all people have harmony in their top 5. So it's in the top 10 of themes, and so it's one that we really see quite frequently. If I were to kind of come up with some words, maybe some nouns that I think help to define harmony and help us get a picture of what harmony productively applied can look like. Words like mediator. I find that people with harmony are often in the middle of stuff, in between people, in between situations. A negotiator, arbitrator, ambassador, diplomat, pragmatist, peacemaker would all be some words that I would use. Some adjectives that I might use and would be practical, conflict, concrete, conflict reducing, collaborative, agreeable, task-oriented, diplomatic, down-to-earth, and smooth. It's just a word that I hear people that have it. They're kind of smoothing things down. And Shari and I have come up with a gesture, a harmony gesture, and we'll do that right now. Let's just calm down. That's a good harmony gesture. That may be my next project, is coming up with theme gestures, and they will not be obscene gestures, by the way. So those are just some of the brief thoughts about harmony. I was looking for some quotes about harmony. I haven't done that very much, but I found some what I think are pretty good quotes that relate to harmony, and from some fairly influential people here. This is what Mahatma Gandhi said. He said, "I suppose that leadership at one time meant muscles, but today it means getting along with people." Another one was Theodore Roosevelt said, "The most important single ingredient in the formula of success is knowing how to get along with people." And I think at the core of harmony, that is what it is. How do we get along, and how do I help other people get along? This is another interesting quote that I found. This is from Steve Goodyear. I'm not sure who Steve is, but I like what he said. He says, "We don't get harmony when everyone sings the same note. Only notes that are different can harmonize." That is true with people. And I think, and I've heard Shari talk about this a little bit, is I think people with harmony want different voices to be heard, even different voices. It's when all of the voices are heard that there truly is some harmony. And then Martin Luther King, one last one, he says, "A genuine leader is not a searcher for consensus, but a molder of consensus." And that's a very different thing. I sometimes say it this way. It's not about I need peace. I know how to bring peace. I know how to help people get along. Let's see. I think there are some themes that I think can help, that can moderate harmony. Themes that may be complemented. Maybe it's interesting when I see harmony high on a profile. A couple of themes that I often see lower are strategic and ideation. Those two themes are often themes that kind of bring disruption. If you've ever heard of disruptive innovation, they kind of create tension when there's new ideas. And the other reason I think ideation and strategic are often widely separated from harmony is they are kind of what I would call out there themes. You know, it's people who live at 30,000 feet. And I think to some degree harmony is it's a theme that's really on the ground. I think it grounds people. It's kind of, we often call it kind of down to earth kind of people, concrete, practical, stable in a lot of ways. Let's see, anything else that I've got here? I think sometimes it's good to think about what these things can look like in roles. And so I have done some writing about how you might be able to use your theme as a parent. Your calm, down-to-earth approach to life will bring stability and practicality to your family and home. Also as a collaborator. I've done some writing about themes as collaborators. Harmony as a collaborator is always bringing people down to earth emotionally and intellectually. He or she is convinced that when people get too high or too low, there are problems. Let's not waste time or energy getting too angry or too afraid or too euphoric or too philosophical. Let's just work together. And so those are some thoughts that I have about harmony, and I want to kind of get Shari on the line here a little quicker than normal, because I think harmony is one of the most misunderstood and underappreciated themes. When I coach people, when I'm teaching people in coaching programs, for some reason there is a bias against this particular theme. So Shari, let's get you on here and tell me a little bit about how harmony has contributed to your success, whether it be personal success, professional success. How has harmony helped you be effective and successful?
Great. Thanks, Kurt. It made me smile as you were talking about, people kind of take harmony and say, oh yeah, I don't have that, and blah blah blah, and it gets pushed away, and I think we get a bad rap, and I'm proud of the harmony that I have, and
Yes.
I jokingly tell people though, like, I didn't start my day by pulling my team together and singing Kumbaya. We don't do that. It's not how we roll. I had a couple of them. I was joking with them before this meeting, and they said, yeah, and thanks for that, by the way. But when I think about what harmony has really done to kind of contribute to my success and my role with what I do every day, I do really view a good portion of what I do and what my job is and kind of what my responsibilities are as a collaborator. And as you said that word, I looked over and I was kind of smiling. We had a manager retreat last year, and there were some awards given out, and there was a collaboration award that I won, which was kind of interesting and ironic. As you said that word, I was like, yep, that's really, I think, a lot of what I view of what I'm doing. I want to make sure that we have the right people weighing in, that people are having the option to put their opinion in so we can come out with the best outcome possible. I lead with Achiever, so when you were talking about, kind of that performance orientation of harmony, that is really, I think, where I draw from. I don't really shy away from conflict, but I really do look at it as an opportunity to say, let's put these things on the table and what can we do with it? So it's more about how do we bring all of those views and all of those opinions, and whether they're on polar opposite ends, but how do we bring that together so we have the best possible outcome and next step for what it is that we're doing? And I think that works for me relative to the people that are on my team. It's thinking about how are we putting the right people together. I'm not looking to create teams and partnerships that are going to implode or explode, but how are we bringing together different opinions so we can have some people that can have sort of a little bit of that. There's someone who uses the word positive tension. I think that positive tension is where I kind of thrive, where it's like, let's get some of that on the table so we can debate and discuss, but with the intent that we're going to be able to do something great as a result.
Yeah, so the tension is always aimed at some outcome. Absolutely. Yeah. And I really like this idea that, and the quote that I read about, there is no harmony if you only hear one voice. Mm-hmm. And I think getting different voices, how do you do that? Let's just say you're in a room and there are different voices. What does that look like in real time when you do that?
I think for me, one of the things that I do, I ask a lot of questions. So I tend to lead with a question before I lead with my opinion on what I think we should do. I usually have an opinion on what I think we should do, but I try to draw that out from other people, because I think if people feel like they're a part of the discussion and a part of the process, I think I do a pretty good job of reading people. I also have empathy in my top 5, so I do a good job of kind of gauging, understanding who's there, understanding the task at hand. Before I ever go into a meeting, I usually, like most people, I think most people, you have a sense if it's going to get a little heightened, if it's going to be more of a, hey, this is just a great conversation and let's move this, or no, we really need to kind of debate and discuss what this subject is. And I think about who's in the room, and I think about who is going to stand out and need to be heard because they are significance and command and communication. That's just who they are. And who in that room may not jump in, but also needs to be heard. And sometimes I think it's playing a little bit of referee to be able to say, okay, let me call out this person, and hey, talk to me more about, you mentioned this to me in the hallway the other day. Let's talk about that, because I think you had some really good points. So I think it's helping to kind of sometimes draw out those differing opinions of others in the room when they, based on who they are, they wouldn't necessarily bring them to the table, and potentially the most forward, the loudest, whoever tends to be the one that's heard. And I like to think that I'm able to sort of pull in some of those other opinions that are around the table when it's someone who may not necessarily do that on their own.
Yeah, no, I think that is such an important part of harmony that I don't hear people talking about that much. Mm-hmm. I mean, now obviously you're in a position of leadership on the teams that you're a part of, and is there if you think back when you were not necessarily the leader of a team that you were a part of, how did harmony feel any different then?
I don't know if it felt really different to me. I think there is I tend to look at I do a lot of side conversations. So I may not necessarily be, if there's 10 people around the table and there's a big debate and discussion going on, I may not necessarily be the one that jumps in the middle of it, but either before the meeting, if I knew it was coming, or after the meeting, I'm doing one-on-one with a lot of those folks I want to hear their opinion in hopefully here I am again, in a less emotional state. Sometimes it's helping people get a little bit of the emotion out so we can be rational and have a good discussion around it. So I think I tend to do a lot of those like side conversations with people of like, okay, tell me more about what that was, let's talk more about that, or even feeding some other people what my ideas are. If I'm, again, not necessarily the person that's going to come into the room with command, how am I helping to ensure that that is heard and is another great contributor to the conversation? So, I mean, I guess thinking about in the role that I'm in now versus other roles that I've had, I think I just always am really looking at how does everybody feel like they had an option to be heard and that they had an option to bring it to the table, because I think I feed off of that. Strategic, it was interesting when you said, strategic and ideation tend to be sometimes on the opposite end. Strategic is low for me, ideation is higher, but strategic isn't real high for me. But so I think about how am I bringing those things to the table for other people and drawing them out, because that kind of fuels me to be able to help those conversations move forward.
Absolutely. Yeah, I like this idea that, the room, we usually think about the tension is when everybody's in the room. Mm-hmm. And you're saying part of how I deal with this is outside the room. Uh-huh. I have these one I don't know what you call them, kind of side conversations, uh-huh. As opposed to we all have to have this talk inside the room. So I like that.
And I'm just thinking about some specific situations and I know some folks with Harmony, when they think about, conflict, and it's like, oh, that's going to be conflict, I don't want to be involved, I want to steer clear of that. I actually, in all honesty, get a little bit excited about that because I think in the partnerships that I have, people look to me a little bit to be able to temper that. And I made a little note, because what I get a lot in meetings is, when everybody takes a break then and there may be a little bit of tension and there's a lot of one-off conversations going, I get a lot of people that come over to me that I have good relationships and partnerships with, and they're like, what do you think? Is that okay? Like, am I they know I'm going to come at it from a little bit more even keel sense. And so I think they look to me, when you build those relationships and people understand that I bring that to the table, they kind of look to me to help know, like, no, I can tell you're fiery and you're on fire about it, but that's great. Like, keep doing what you're doing. Or, you know what, you've kind of taken this now, you've made it more emotional, and now nobody's really involved in the conversation because they sort of feel like you're just going to keep going. And I think that is an element of Harmony that I'm able to bring that keeps things moving. And with the relationships that I've built, people kind of rely on me for that, which is it's a great feeling. And I always joke with people, I have some of my best partners at Gallup, I say they run like this. So they run on the extremes, and they are hot and cold, on and they are off. And I probably run a little bit more in here. And they know that, and we value that in each other, so we kind of look to each other. When I know something does need to be up here, I may salt the water a little bit and help them know that, like, we're in agreement on this, but also to kind of know when it's like, hey, you need to pull it back down a little bit because it's gone to a level that the message is being lost.
Yeah, I think what I really like about you is, and I can see why you won this collaboration award. I mean, you are truly a collaborator. As you talk about life and work, it's never just you in isolation. There are always other people around. Life is not unison, it is harmony. It is about the blending of voices to make beautiful music here, and you certainly have done that in a lot of ways at Gallup. Has Harmony ever gotten you in trouble? Or if it does, how does it?
I'm trying to think if Harmony's ever gotten me in trouble. I do have an example. This is something from a long time ago of a partner of mine, a management partner. We were managers in the call center who also had Harmony, and he and I would kind of joke that every once in a while Harmony goes bad. And we were, this was Harmony went bad, and this was 15 years ago. But I remember there was an incident that he had with an interviewer on his team, and it was getting very fiery. and I was in an office next door, and I could hear that it was getting a little fiery, and a couple of us kind of went in to say, hey, let's have a good conversation about this, and let's kind of bring this down. And he and I were kind of debriefing after it, and he was like, gosh, they kept coming at me, and it was like, and we knew the facts were straight, and we knew what it was. And he's like, and there was a point I knew my harmony went bad, where he's like, I just came back, and he's like, that wasn't really me, and it didn't feel right to me. But he's like, somebody had pushed on me so much, thinking that I was gonna back off, that he's like, I couldn't do it anymore. So it was an interesting thing for me as I thought about harmony, because I look at it and say, you know what, I don't view it. It's like, I'm not a wallflower. The people I know who have harmony, there's a couple other folks that really have that performance-oriented harmony like I do. It's not the wallflower, it's not the pushover, but there are points where it's like, if someone's just pushing and pushing and pushing, that a little bit more, I would say those are the times that I probably get a little bit more fiery. And I would tend to do it one-on-one versus in a group, but it will come back as like, okay, I need you to respect the fact of what I'm bringing to the table. And I think it's just one of those where sometimes I think people, when they know you have harmony, they kind of think, oh, you're sort of going to be willing just to always take the back seat. So I wouldn't say there's a time that necessarily harmony's got me in trouble, but I think there are times where people have a perception of how you are going to act, respond, agree, participate in a conversation because you do have harmony, and you have to almost push it up a little bit more to help ensure that people are taking a balance. And I went all over with that one, but there's been some interesting moments where I think something has even been labeled as harmony where it wasn't, or vice versa. I think this is a strength that definitely has a misconception around it.
I talk about this quite a bit, is how I think sometimes we get in trouble with themes when we become one-dimensional, when a person just sees themselves only as harmony. And I certainly don't sense that about you. As I hear you talk, I hear a lot of your achiever kind of connecting with your harmony. I also hear a lot of positivity kind of come out with your harmony as well. You really bring in energy and emotional energy and try to lift people up or calm people down. I think the lifting up and the calming down are the kind of the combination of positivity and harmony. Which do you have other themes that you think kind of play with your harmony a bit, that kind of add to it?
I was thinking about that a little bit this morning. Definitely, I think my achiever is a huge partner to my harmony. Because when I think about the opportunity with harmony, is again to get that consensus, to be able to hear differing opinions, even draw people that aren't necessarily going to put it out there right away. But the achievement side, I lead with achiever. It's number one, and I think that definitely it's that need to move things forward. I'm not somebody that likes to debate for the sake of debate. Or get into a disagreement and just keep going, and some people really thrive on that. They love that kind of like, point, counterpoint, how can I want to, but if it doesn't ever, if at the end of that hour you're like, well, that was just a great debate, I'm like, what, is that what we did for the hour? I mean, that's where my achiever's like, geez, man, we could have really done something. We could have really done something with this. And so I think that's probably sometimes of having to temper my own strengths, because sometimes there is times where debate for the sense of debate, to get all of that on the table is great, but I need to get that collaboration going to move it towards an outcome. I also have focus, so it's like if my achiever and focus get going, it's like, okay, we want to hear you and let's go, and what's next, and where are we going, and what are we going to do with it? So I think my strengths they do all play together very well. I have empathy in my top 5 as well. So I think that harmony piece, this probably comes from what I was saying before, bringing that empathy in. I have a good sense of the room. And that is, I've been here for I've been in my job for a long time. The people that I work with know me in my role for a long time. So again, it kind of goes back to where I know people rely on me because they know I have a good sense of the room, or the group of people, or the 3 people, or the 20 people, or whatever we're doing and whatever we're trying to accomplish. I can read that. So I can, again, help put a little gas on if we need to put gas on, and put a little water on when we need to put a little water on. And think they know that since I kind of run right in here, I don't pour gas when we're up here, and I don't pour water when we're down here. But I know, but I have a good sense of how to keep it moving, but to be able to allow those peaks and valleys to happen.
So if for some reason we found out that you lost your harmony, it was magically removed from you. What do you think would be missing from your life, from your effectiveness? What would you lose if you lost your harmony?
I think if I lost my harmony, which I laugh because sometimes when people see my top 5, they're like, harmony, huh? And we have to talk about what that looks like for me. So some people might think I've lost it at different points already, but I think if I did lose it or if I didn't have it, I think that collaboration piece would pull out a little bit for me because I'm very achievement oriented, I'm very production oriented, I'm very performance oriented, let's move, that I think I would potentially more often either just always do it myself or just like take it and run. Because I want to get it going, where I think my harmony kind of helps to ensure that people are going along with me, and I may be going along with them, or they may be going along with me, but we're moving. And I think if that harmony completely away, I don't know if I would always be thinking about, be as concerned with, or be purposeful in ensuring that we're all kind of getting there and that people feel like they're a part of it. I think that's one thing that I say all the time. One of my goals in a lot of things that I do is to help people think that something was their idea, even if it's not. I may have the idea, but if someone else owns it, that's okay with me. It doesn't rile me. It doesn't take me off course, because sometimes that's what really helps people keep going, is if they feel like they got to take the ownership of it.
I think people with harmony, other people, I think you're just a great example of part of what they could be is great team players. They could be team leaders, depending whether they want to, but they could be great on a team if they have the chance to do that. So, I know that just thinking about the results of your collaboration with our learning and design consultants, Shari manages the people, and we've had a lot of people on this call who have come through some of our new coaching programs, and the great curriculum that has been created has been the result of a lot of collaboration. And I know that you have played a big role in leading the team that has created and developed such great curriculum. So if that would have not, if you wouldn't have been there, I don't think it would have happened as well. And your leadership and your collaboration have been really critical and key to that.
I think that's one of the things that I'm able to sort of help bring to that group. It's like I have this team of people that are just the greatest experts. They're just some of the smartest people on the planet in terms of what this stuff is they're creating. I couldn't do half of what they're able to do. They're just a hell of a lot smarter than me. But I think I do a good job of helping to put the right people together, or help to kind of balance. There's stakeholders involved, there's other people that are coming into play, and we talk a lot about, you get a lot of cooks in the kitchen sometimes. And sometimes it's either helping to make sure that all the cooks kind of know which thing they're cooking, or helping people kind of get aligned with who the head chef is, and that I don't watch those cooking shows. Which is the one that is Gordon Ramsay one, like throws stuff? Doesn't somebody like throw things?
Yeah, I think he might throw stuff. Yeah.
And how do we help? How do we help if there is one that's throwing stuff? How do we help him put the stuff back in the drawer
Cold water.
There's not. So dinner actually gets made. That's weird analogy.
I think that's part of what people with harmony can do is they manage the strong emotions. They're really good at managing strong emotions, and they create this kind of emotional equilibrium. It's never that way all the time, but over time there is an equilibrium that is really a better place to live and to work. If you're in an environment that is always up and down and hot and cold, a more stable emotional environment, I think, to some degree, is part of another thing that people with harmony bring. Jim, do we have any questions out there in chat land?
Lots of questions coming in. Shari, I did want to say, I've watched you over the last 7 years that I've been here, and I've trained with you, and you do have, I've noticed you bring that positivity and achiever. Harmony sometimes gets that negative connotation, right? Of, we can't get anything done because it's kumbaya. Everybody's got to agree. But I think you take that achiever. You're like, and like you said, you're like, we're gonna get this done. We're gonna move forward. I'm going to use the positivity to make sure it works in that
Mm-hmm.
way, and then let's get this group going. And so it's not a sticking point. I think some people have asked, how do we encourage people high in harmony to get moving? And I think if they don't have achiever, right, they've got to find that theme that is a movement theme, right, a maximizer, an activator, something in there that gets them off center and gets them moving so that they don't get stuck. That might be one of those things. But Judy Bowen had asked in Facebook early before, and by the way, you can put these in our Facebook group, and we will ask them here on the show. She says she has a client with harm number 3, along with empathy and communication, adaptability and input. He's absolutely allergic to conflict. You talked about this earlier, Kurt. What are some of the gentle ways to help move her from raw, in other words, I need peace, to mature, I bring peace? She's not finding the ideas for action in her report useful. Any thoughts on that, Kurt?
Yeah, I guess first thing, I think it's a great example of someone who has a theme that's not been transformed into a strength. Just because you have harmony does not mean you've figured out how to use it productively. Obviously, Shari has figured out how to use her harmony in a productive way. And that's what we're trying to do, those of us who are coaches. How do I help? And so I think to some degree this is a product of being aware of what else. And part of it is helping people get beyond being obsessed with one theme. I think that's part of what gets people in trouble. I'm just harmony. We don't hear Shari obsessing on any of her themes. It's kind of a nice blend. So I think helping people start to figure what can you add to your harmony that might make it work better is the first thing I do with people who are kind of stuck on a theme. And it also might just be about someone who is immature in, I don't know how old these people are. It could be just kind of an immaturity. They need more experience. They need more knowledge, more skill. So it may not be about talent at all. Maybe they just don't know enough about a particular thing. They might lack self-confidence because they don't have the education or the experience that they need. It may not just be about their theme. So those are just things off the top of my head. Shari, I don't know if you want to add anything to that.
Yeah, I think the only thing that I think about with that one, it's like if somebody really just runs, do they really just run from conflict and don't want anything to do with any of it? I mean, I think one of the things that helps my harmony is sometimes it's being, Kurt, now you and I were talking about this before the show started, but how do you feel that you're educated and informed enough on whatever that topic is so you can contribute and you can participate?
Yeah.
Because I know that will definitely rock my harmony if there's a debate and conflict going on and I feel like I'm not informed enough to weigh in, then I'm like, okay, I don't really know how to add value here or even move it forward because I don't feel informed on what this is. I'm not educated on what it is that we're talking about. I didn't come in with my own point of view. I think that's the other kind of misnomer with harmony is that people think you don't have a point of view. People that know me, I absolutely have a point of view. I just don't come at it like that, like some other people might. So I think it's like, how does that person feel like they're educated, that they can contribute? But I think also, how do they use, instead of feeling like they need to run from conflict, how do you really listen and think about what are the questions that you're potentially putting back out into that conflicting conversation that may open up some of those areas of discussion? So how do you think about, again, you don't have to walk in and be the mediator unless, that feels okay for you, but how are you bringing sort of your even keel to the table to help that discussion along? So I think sometimes it's thinking about what are you really hearing. If they just want to run away from it, they've probably shut off listening. But if you can think about how are you really listening to what that discussion is, and are there some questions that you can put back out there that will further that conversation or pull other people into it?
Yeah, that's good. The only thing I would add is sometimes I ask people, what are some themes that give you backbone? Mm-hmm. And sometimes people have themes like belief. This is an important. I'll stand up for this. I will go to war for that. Or maybe it's something like connectedness or responsibility. But I do think this whole idea of that maybe the reason I'm afraid is I'm not prepared. I don't know enough yet. Mm-hmm. I don't have all the information that I need. So it may not just be about I'm allergic to conflict. I'm uncomfortable in situations where I don't quite understand. So exploring around that would be my advice for people who are working with clients whose harmony seems to be raw. They still need something. I think that's why it's raw. When it becomes mature, I think it's usually integrated into its other themes. When it's kind of an isolated piece, that's when I think themes get problematic.
Mm-hmm. And how are they thinking about, I think also, Kurt, just listening to you say that, how are they thinking about the relationships they have with people? So do they have relationships with those folks around the room? You know, if I feel like, boy, here's just a group of people that I'm either intimidated by, I don't know them very well, they don't know what I'm bringing to the table, I'm not sure what they're bringing to the table. Again, those are all things that I could see where it would rile up your conflict a little bit, but it's like, you know what, if I've taken the time to really know who this person is, know what they're bringing to the table, okay, what do they lead with? Do they lead with command? Okay, that's going to be good for me to know. And again, it helps you just kind of go into meetings or go into a session or go into a discussion with your harmony feeling like it's a little bit prepared.
Yes, almost socially prepared.
Yeah.
I know these people. I like that. That's great. Mm-hmm. What else, Jim?
Kurt, and you may have answered this just as you were talking about this, but Baha asked this question from Chad. He says, one of my clients is a pastor. His strengths are harmony, relator, and connectedness. He came to a church as an associate pastor. The lead pastor has been in the church for a long time and has developed more of a dictatorial culture. What strategies can be used to survive and make a positive impact?
So he's working with a strong person is maybe a better way to say it.
Right? Very top down, it sounds
Dictatorial is kind of a, that's kind of a loaded word when you use that, but I think it's not uncommon for people with harmony to work with strong people. Have you worked with strong people, Shari?
That is a good portion of my job, Kurt.
How do you work with strong people?
Many of those strong
and I'm not going to use the word dictatorial, but how do you work with intense strong people?
Uh-huh. I think, again, that's where a relationship piece comes in, where these are also some of my best partners and some of the people that I love to work with most, and they are very strong. They have a lot of opinions. They're willing to put them out there.
You wouldn't use the word dictatorial, though, probably.
No, that's not a word.
I think that's part of the problem sometimes is how we view people. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I guess I just look and I think about what they're bringing to the table. I try to really look at what are they bringing to the table. And again, through the relationship that I have with them, they're also both older than me. And so it's like sometimes I think that is, when you go into it and you're like, oh, you're more senior, you're more whatever. But it's like we've created this sort of partnership where they look at me and they've called me before, they're like, you're sort of wise beyond your years, Shari, But I think it's because I don't run in this world as much as I run here. And as they're running here, they sort of need my partnership because it helps us sort of stay sometimes even keel. And again, we 100% need those people that run like this. So I want to make sure that's not a perception I'm giving. We need that hot and cold. We need those extremes. But that partnership that I have with them, I think, helps to know when they need to temper, when maybe we had a discussion or we were in a meeting and I can help them know after the fact, like, you know what, that might need some follow-up. You didn't leave the room the way you thought you left the room. You didn't leave that discussion the way you think you left that discussion, and here's sort of what's on the table. Or here's what you're going to want to do, or here's my opinion on that. That I think does just help people. Again, when you're running in this world, there's more emotion at each end of it than there is sometimes here in the middle. And so sometimes it's even just having a partner that you can talk to, or that role that I can play for them, where it helps to temper some of that emotion a little bit. And it brings it to, let's be a little more rational, let's be a little more real, let's get to the point of what that is. That helps them sort of kind of come back and then get in a rational thinking before we go back to those extremes that sometimes we need.
I get the sense, though, that they appreciate you and you appreciate them.
Absolutely, because since I don't run here, there are absolutely times where I'm like, we need to fire this thing, and you're going to fire it better than I do. And if we're in sync and we've had a great discussion before, I know they're going to take it and they're going to go, bull in the china shop, make it happen. And I kind of know how I'm going to partner with them in that process. And we work really well together. It's one of those where, these two people that I have in mind, it's like the eye contact that we have at the opposite end of the table or in the room or anything, where it's like, we can get a look, and if they laugh, where they're like, you gave me the nod, I knew we were good, or you gave me that, and they knew we were off course. That we very much rely on each other for that.
So I think that to kind of summarize what we're saying here to this person with the question, I think the first thing you have to do is you have to appreciate what you're calling a dictatorial leader. What's the value of what, if you can't get to the place where you don't see the value of what they bring, that partnership is going to be starting off on, and it obviously has to be mutual, but you can't do anything about how other people appreciate you. You can only control how do I stay who I am, but also appreciate who someone else is. That's a great answer in that, Shari.
Shari, Nicole via Twitter sent that in with the hashtag CSF chat. She said, and it was a statement you said about leading with. So you said you lead with, I think you said a lead with achiever. You know, we say that all the time here at Gallup, but that that's maybe not a common vernacular. What do you mean by that? That's what she's asking.
When I say I lead with achiever, so I mean achiever is my number one, but I could say that probably about multiple strengths, but I lead through my personal life, my professional life, from when I get up in the morning to when I go to sleep at night to, whatever. I lead with a huge achievement drive to move things forward, to get things done, to make things happen. And so that's really kind of, I would say that's my own filter over everything that's happening. That's how I view the work that I do every day, my relationships, all of that. It just has this achievement drive of movement. There has to be a movement in it. And so that's why I think when I talk about leading with achiever and what that means in partnership with my harmony is that collaborator that's wanting to move things forward and help people feel a part of it. But when I talk about leading with that, that's just really the filter that I'm viewing all aspects of my life. It just has a very heavy achievement orientation.
And Kurt, can you lead? You don't always necessarily lead with your top theme, right?
No, you don't necessarily. I think it's kind of a choice. What people make, what's worked, what they've learned works, and I think that's kind of what Shari has kind of found is that, obviously that's contributed to her success. But I like the way that she has kind of integrated things. She's not just achiever, she's not just harmony, she's not just empathy, positivity. You can really see, but I think sometimes people think that way, and it could be she has focus. That's part of how her brain operates. It has a kind of a single-mindedness to it as well. So I think everybody is a little bit different how they do that. But I've heard lots of people use that language, and I think that's how Shari described it is right on.
Yeah, I think it's a good way to say it as well. Gina asked this question. She'd love to know how to best manage/motivate an employee with harmony as number 2. Shari, any thoughts? How does your harmony get motivated?
I'll start from my own, and I actually have one of my team members that has harmony, and I think a lot of that is one of the things that I think about with someone on my team that has harmony in their top 5 is, again, who are the partners that I'm putting them with? So how am I setting them up for success? If their role is to go in every day against a guns blazing kind of person that's really, in your face, bull in a china shop, I'm not setting them up to feel like they're moving in the way that they want to move. But when I can create a partnership or a team where they're each able to bring those things to the table, it works really, really well. So I think that is, was the question, Jim, how do you kind of motivate and how do you help somebody that's kind of got harmony in their top 5? I think it is, what are the situations that you're putting them in every day? How are you helping them build the relationships with the people that they're working with? Because again, your harmony also, this is my own personal opinion, but your harmony gets a little bit of a break when you're with people you're super close to, because you're going to be a little bit, you maybe don't, it maybe doesn't cause the same stress level, or maybe doesn't cause the same conflict level when you sort of feel like, okay, I'm more involved in this discussion. So how do you help them build the relationships with their people working closely with? What is it that they're expected to do every day? And if they are in situations that are really going to kind of push their harmony in a way that doesn't feel good for them, who are they partnered with and who are they working with that can help temper that or can take some of those pieces while they're bringing something else to the table? So that's a little bit kind of generalities, but when I think about both myself and someone on my team, I really am just always thinking about, okay, who all is on that team, and is that person set up for success based on who else is around the table and what needs to be done? And I think I look at that for myself too. Who's around the table and what am I going to contribute here, and where am I going to need somebody else to kind of help with one of these pieces?
Shari, I don't think about you a lot. Sometimes when people have achiever, I think about them as kind of lone rangers a bit. I don't think about you as much that way. I wonder if that's one of the things that would motivate people who have harmony, is just an opportunity to collaborate or partner.
Right. Yeah, that's a great point.
If I'm just doing my own thing here, I might not be as motivated as if I'm part of part of a great team or a great partnership.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Kurt, we are coming up on the end of our time here. Any last words on harmony that you want to throw in before we close this out?
Well, I'm just one of my reasons for doing this is I think we ought to love all 34 themes, and especially if you're a coach. When you look at someone that has harmony, I hope that you will see Shari's face now, because I think she is a great poster child for healthy, productive harmony. And I think it's something to strive for. I know there are a lot of people out there who find that harmony is kind of problematic, and I think if it's problematic, the potential has not been developed. If it is primarily about fear and running away from conflict, I don't think you have developed that theme yet to what it can be. It really is about being able to build consensus, build cooperation, build collaboration. So I would just challenge people who are coaching people with harmony. We need more people who can use this theme productively. So thanks, Shari, for your great insight into this theme and helping it see it in living color. And I appreciate your being able to work with you.
Absolutely. Thanks. This was fun, guys.
Yeah, you bet. And I would say the same thing, Shari. Thanks for doing this today. We'll remind everyone to take full advantage of all the resources we have available at the Gallup Strengths Center. Just GallupStrengthsCenter.com to send us your questions or comments. If you'd like to be a guest blogger as well, we're always looking for those. You can contact us, send us an email, coaching@Gallup.com. Maybe you've got some things to write about, and we'd have a platform around these themes for you to write for us, and so send us that email. You can also catch the recorded audio and video of this program and all the past ones as well, and we have a bunch of them already stacked up for you on our Facebook page as well as our YouTube page. Head over to coaching.gallup.com. All the links are there. I mentioned Facebook, and you might want to, if you didn't get your question answered here, you might want to take that to the Facebook page. I'll put the link in chat, or it'll be available in the show notes for this as well. And if you want to watch the YouTube videos, we have lots of people watching those now. Go to YouTube and just search Gallup Strengths Center as well. We have meetups available for you going on around the country. You might want to take a peek at those. They're on the coach's blog. And future webcasts, again, gallup.eventbrite.com. Shari and Kurt, thanks for coming out. And we will say to everyone else, thanks for listening.